Okay.
Oh, got it.
It's so lovely to have everybody. So we're recording this so future artists can have a look at this conversation if they can't join us today. I'm going to do a quick introduction to what Connie's Crit X Fida is. And so really excited to have the panelists and all the artists here. And we're starting interesting conversations about fashion drawing. And for those of you who don't know me, who's in this chat or you know me, I am a fashion illustrator and a fashion drawing lecturer. And I'm super passionate about art and drawing itself and all the things that go behind it. And we have some wonderful panelists here today who are creatives as well. So we intimately understand all the creative process and the journey that we have to go through. And Patrick has reached out to me and we talked about how in the industry, there's so many talks about different fashion designers and the designers' garments and the collection, but there's actually not really much talk about the illustration itself. So anything about the drawing and, there's no insight into our lives as creatives and artists, the things that we have to endure and go through. So we just thought it would be quite nice to create a safe space where we can all just come and talk about it. So it's nice to see all the faces here. And before we start, we want to introduce our panelists. So if anybody, Joanna, do you want to go first? Because your mic's unmuted.
Hi.
You want to tell the audience a bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name's Joanna Layla. I'm a fashion illustrator / artist. I do a little bit of teaching, but not as much as Connie. I'm really passionate about the discipline as an art form, and I work full-time. So I work creating fashion illustrations for brands, magazines, publications at London Fashion Week. So kind of across the whole, from sketches through to finished brand illustrations. And I absolutely love it. And I think this is such an amazing idea, Connie, and just to celebrate and embrace our discipline, because I don't think it's done enough, and I'm really excited about tonight. So thank you for having me.
Nice to have you. Jess, do you want to go next?
Sure, I'm not sure I can follow that, but yeah, I am Jess Bird. I'm also what I would call a fashion illustrator / artist. I work mainly with charcoal, but lots of color, and do like a range of live stuff, and yeah, anything really. Yeah, that's it really.
Amazing. Pepe, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi. You can hear me?
Yeah.
Hi. So my name is Pepe. I'm from Spain originally, but I'm based in New York City. I also think I'm a fashion illustrator, although the last few years I was working as a stylist. So in fashion, but I felt like my life was the mix in between the both of them. However, now I don't style it anymore. I haven't in a while, and I'm focused more on illustration, which I think is great. I'm also very happy to see how fashion illustration has taken like it's 2.0 fashion illustration now, and I think it's wonderful. I've looked at the work of all of you guys, and I'm actually really thankful and amazed that I'm here. So thank you for having me. It's an absolute honor. And yeah.
No, it's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Great. And we have Paul. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Paul Kindserley, and I'm an artist, and I work a lot in performance and film, but drawing is integral to my work. I also, I know Connie because I'm also a model at St. Martin's for fashion illustration. So I've been the model that the students have been drawing for over 10 years now. So I've had insight. On top of that, I also teach illustration at St. Martin's on the fine art department, but also now on the fashion department. So I see it from all the different sides. So it's really exciting, and I'm thrilled to be part of this as well.
It's amazing. And we're very lucky to have you because you actually went to the Matty Bovan show, your friends.
Yeah. And I'm even wearing like an old Matty top from a few years ago. So that's It's very hot though, so I might take it off.
It's really interesting because Matty Bovan was he was in my year at St. Martin's, but he was in the knitwear department and I was in fashion marketing at St. Martin's. And quick fact, Charles Jeffrey was my classmate. We all hate him because he's so good. So thank you all for being here, and we have an amazing selection of artwork we want to share with you. And Patrick is in the background, so he's the black square there. He'll be chiming in a little bit. So first, we're gonna share with you an artist. Sorry, one second. Is Sophie here? Sophie? I'm just gonna share my screen. Oh, Patrick, can you let me share the screen?
There might be more than one Sophie. There's lots of Sophies in the.
Oh, Sophie Kiosk.
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
Let me just share my screen. Oh, I think Patrick has to press the button. 1 second. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. We have chosen 2 of your lovely work. So if you want to quickly tell us about your process, technique, your inspiration.
Yeah. Okay. Hi guys. So it's such a honor to be here. It's great. So the one on my left, which is more painterly, actually I'm really a printmaker, and I'm doing this artist residency at the moment in Croydon, and they have an amazing Poundland there, and they happen to have A3 canvases for sale for £3. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try and paint on a canvas. I'd never done it before, and so I got really obsessed with this collection in that all the looks were modeled by men except for 2, and so I just did the 2 women on 2 canvases, and I kind of painted them simultaneously. And so I guess that's her on the left. I was just really, I don't know, I so love the mega pattern clash that goes on in Bovan's work, and this outfit, especially on the left, there's just so much going on. The different size gingham and the printed jacket, and the jacket that seems to have 4 sleeves, and then there's beads on the top. And I just wanted to try, if I could, to capture all of that because it's so joyful for me, I guess. And the one on the right is more, I made a collage of, I put all the patterns that I could see. I just used Pro Marker and put them on tissue paper, and then I cut them out and stuck them down first. And then I screen printed a drawing that I'd made onto a film, but that's the black part. I kind of printed that on top of the collage.
Can you tell us, because we had a look at your Instagram, can you tell us about dressing your son, you said?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's really fun. I mean, I just have this feeling that I have to put it in now so that when I'm old and decrepit, we have something in common.
Oh, no.
So I have a 13-year-old son, and he's beginning to be interested in fashion, and for some additional pocket money was exchanged. I was like, let's try and recreate the looks that I personally, because he's a women's wear designer by sort of category. So I was like, okay, I'll choose the looks that I would like to try and wear myself a bit. I just tried to recreate the silhouettes as best I could out of things that I had at home, but on him, it's a bit bonkers really, but it was really fun. And then just did some quick 10-minute drawings of him in those things, but tried to use the colors from the outfits that I'd seen in the photos. So that's.
Do you think drawing from life has really changed your work or made you work in a certain way?
I think that's probably why I asked him to do that exercise with me, because I find the stock photographs from the catwalk sometimes they can just be a bit dry. I don't know, and to have a human being in some clothes just gave it immediately some sort of more human energy for me, just that, and probably the time restriction, like quick drawing, I I really like that immediacy of Mark, and when you can't get too precious about drawing, and I don't know, seem to just capture everything a little bit better at speed sometimes. Yeah.
Thank you. So we would like to hear from our panelists. Whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, I can jump in just following what you were saying, Sophie, about drawing from a live model. So I find if you have the option to, I find it really interesting when you're looking at catwalk shows digitally, is if there's any live footage you can watch and try and draw from that and not just from the stills. Because what I find is when you draw from the stills, often you foreshorten in the way that a camera would. And it's really nice to try and draw some of the moving figures, which I know is really hard, but you could even get some of those gestures from the moving figures. I think it can make really exciting drawings that no one else is making because they're all working from the stills, if that makes sense. But what I really wanted to say was, so the thing I kind of was really drawn to in this collection, and I don't know Matty's work that well, is the kind of cut and paste technique and sort of sampling other designers and then putting it back together. And so I love the way the blue, black and white drawing that you have here, I love the way that in itself, the way you made it was like a series of different techniques, because that completely epitomizes the way he's working as well. So I thought that was just such a smart, clever thing to do and to kind of capture that energy. So yeah, I mean, lovely. I'll let someone else jump in, but I thought that was great.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, I was thinking the exact same thing. And also I love that you've got the whole page with, because the setting was very intimate and the models were like hemmed in by the audience as well. So the fact that you've got the audience in there really does bring the show to life. And when you're saying about dressing up your son, what I find as well when I'm drawing, which is exactly, is that I sometimes even get into the positions of if I'm drawing from a flat image, and then it just, even if it's just that I suddenly realize how awkward something is, or I realize where the weight is in the picture, it can make such a difference. And I do that even when I'm going to galleries looking at paintings. I sometimes just like get in the position. I'm like, oh yeah, that's weird, or that how it works. So I think that's really helpful. And obviously the whole collection, a lot of it was about this styling and like the belting everything in. So when as soon as you put that on someone else, you see the weight, all the patchworking, and it all makes more sense. So I think it's like the best idea. We should find people to dress up. And yeah, because the belting was something that I just thought about a lot afterwards. It just made me want to put on loads of stuff and then see if it could all hold on with one big belt around the middle. In both of the works as well. And that was like, yeah, it's exciting to see.
Thank you.
I really like the way you've done the textiles, like the different textures, and like the way that you've done that with like the tissue paper is so clever, because like I always find like I'll do like a line drawing and then want to fill it in with color, but then I like the line drawing so much and then I ruin it by putting on the color. So like the way that the color's on there and then layered, that's so clever. And I like that it's like flatter, like not like how it's just, yeah, each texture is flat and like not as it would be. It's like more simplified, you know what I mean?
I think with Matty's work that I just had to find a way in, because there's so much visually going on, you know, and to not be too intimidated by that and just think, goodness, I can't possibly capture.
Yeah.
So it's just it was a way of breaking it down, and maybe because I print quite a bit, my brain kind of thinks in layers, I think.
Yeah.
Greens sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the layer.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was thinking about that a lot when I was looking at the collection. I was thinking Jess would do this brilliantly and I would do this so badly. I was like, how would I even approach this? Like I would just be taking elements out and like restricting myself to like the blue and black and red or something and just putting in certain elements. I was like, how would I even approach this?
It is quite overwhelming if you see it. There's so many things going on, and you know, the thing I do, especially with life drawing, is that when I see something really beautiful and there's so many things in it, I get really overwhelmed because I want to capture it all so bad. You're like, you have that feeling, you're like, I want to get it all, and you have 20 minutes to do it, and you're like, I can't.
Yeah.
Pepe, did you?
yeah, I wanted to say the one on I love the blue one, of course, but the one on the left is really catching my eye because if I compare it to what I do, I always find backgrounds really hard to do and something that I never do. So when I see an illustrator that includes the entire background of the place, I find it, one, fascinating. I find it, two, super hard, and it's just great because he makes it, not saying that what we do is not art, because it is an art piece, but I don't know, somehow it looks more like a painting. It looks like a full-on, I don't know, I find it fascinating. So hats off to you, because I love, you can totally tell she's walking on the runway, the wall, I love it.
Oh, that's
Definitely.
so nice.
It's amazing to see the male and female figure juxtaposed as well. Like that because there's the model who opened and closed the show, the female model, and then all the rest of men. And it's amazing that you actually got both, because I think the way the garments sit on each is really important. So it's lovely to see them both. Congratulations. That's like a lot of work and amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. So
That's great. It's so
we're gonna
nice
go
feedback. So nice.
Oh yeah, we're gonna go on to our next person. I don't know if this person is in the chat, but your handle is Fashion Bunny Smith. Are you here? It's okay if she's not, he or she is not here. We're just gonna look at the artwork and
Nice.
Yeah. Give you a moment to have a look at that. Can I ask you a quick question? Can you see the artwork? You don't see the gallery chat box, right, with all our faces? Am I covering?
No, just I see the artwork and then only the person who's speaking.
Oh, okay, that's good. I just wanted to check.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, feel free to comment.
Oh.
I guess leading on from previous as well, what we were saying about how it's so overwhelming, these looks, it was too much. You know, there was like lots of the garments were existing already, so they weren't things that were, so it was like Ugg boots, Levi jeans, things that we already recognized, and then they were painted on top of, then they were like stitched together and belted, then there was another thing added. So I just would have been completely overwhelmed with having to draw it. But I think what previous Sophie did, and what works really well in this, is that you've got the faces like really shining through, so you can, it's really people, because I would have been just overwhelmed by all the stuff, because that's not the technical term. So yeah, I think what's great with this one is you've got 3 really strong portraits, and actually I felt that was important to the show. The models that had been chosen as well, there was a lot of concentration on the face, and there's like simple, so I guess like American football makeup thing as well, but in this one you've got the real like characters coming through, which makes it look like people wearing clothes, which is,
and there's a lovely sense of voice, like whoever created these, like you can feel what she's doing, you can feel her voice in them. It looks like it's her work, she's reinterpreted it in her style, which feels really strong across the 3, which I really like. And the amount of information that you're saying is incredible.
Yep. I personally love, from other illustrators that I follow and of this artist, how she went straight with color to make the illustrations. I find that so brave, because I tend to always do a little sketch before, and I do the pencil and the outline. But when I see somebody that, for example, on the left, the yellow glove is just directly done with the watercolor in yellow, and there's no, it's just, I find it super brave.
Yeah.
Like the orange boot, you can tell there was no outline before. She or he just went directly with the orange and boom, made the boot. That is a confidence that, my goodness, wish I had.
Especially with ink, because you have a certain amount of control. You know, sometimes you have to let it do its own thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure Joanna, you know, you know what I'm talking about. You have to like control water.
I really feel as well there's a sense of movement in these. You feel like the figures are actually moving towards you, which is really hard to capture in runway sketches. And there's that sense of I mean, especially the middle one and the one on the left-hand side, there's that sense that they're moving, which I think is something to do with the looseness of the mark making. Although there's a lot of detail, the actual marks themselves are kept quite loose. And I think, yeah, it really, really helps. And the background, you know, immediately, again, you know the setting, but there's a looseness to them which keeps the image alive. So you get that sense of immediacy, which is really exciting.
I really love the faces as well. I just want to like zoom in on the faces, especially the middle one.
It's so striking.
Yeah, so amazing and like so painterly. And because I imagine these are quite small. I don't know, maybe they're not, but yeah, it's so hard to get a face like that, like when it's so tiny. But yeah, they're really effective.
I mean, I think it's beautiful in terms of the technique. So I have a question I'm going to throw out to the panel. We had this conversation in the previous crit about how important do you think faces are in fashion drawing? And because so many artists are doing faces at the moment, that me and Patrick were talking about, there's so many other avenues in besides beauty, which is, you know, the face drawing. You can draw bags and shoes and clothes. And do you have any advice for our artists coming from, you know, your perspective? What do you guys think on this?
I mean, personally, I mainly draw the face. So yeah, that's kind of up to here, like crop is what I'm drawn to. And I think like, even although it's not always like obviously about the clothes, sometimes I'm going for the vibe of the show, or yeah, like a kind of energy, or I am like really attracted to like interesting faces and unique faces. And that's why I love shows like Charles Jeffrey and that kind of one where there's like lots of makeup or like head accessories. Yeah, so personally, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think when you're drawing, I think if there's even just a suggestion of the face, I think it helps also while you're drawing to actually know when to stop with everything else. Because a fashion drawing, you can actually, as you said, like if there's a great bag, you can sort of just draw the bag, but without a face, there's always like, you always feel something is slightly missing. So I find if you put a face on, even relatively early on, you realize, oh, actually, maybe I don't need to put the whole outfit on, because it sort of starts to balance it out. Well, if you leave the face, if I keep leaving it, then I'm like, oh, this isn't, what's wrong? I can't work out what's wrong with this drawing. But once there's a face or even a suggestion, you know, you can just like splat something on there, or even collage an eye on or anything. As soon as you there's a bit of a face on a body, I feel like everything starts to make a bit more sense for me anyway. So it also it helps a lot for knowing how much more, because you can leave out a lot when you're drawing, but I feel like the face, I always think if you don't want to draw a face, then start with the neck at the top of the paper, then it looks like a deliberate decision.
That's what I do.
I'm like, face missing.
I think I'm somewhere between the two. So I totally get what Jess is saying about the cropped in face. I think faces can really epitomize a brand or a designer, like the faces they choose or how they choose to embellish the face. I think it's really interesting. But a lot of my work, I think I'm actually quite often leave the face out, or some of my favorite fashion illustrators like Amélie Hegardt or Aurore de la Molinaire, they often don't put the faces in at all. And I love the gestural way they work without the faces. I think it's finding your happy medium in a visual language that you can get enough information across, but not too much. And that it still expresses what you want to about the brand or the designer or the garment. I mean, I love drawing legs and that never has a face in, but there's something tactile about the body there. So I think I'm probably somewhere between the two. I'm not so drawn to the sort of the perfect face. I'm more interested in expressing enough about something, but not too much, and leaving some room for the viewer.
Editing.
Oh, no, I agree completely. I'm sorry if it sounded like a perfect face. I meant
no, not at all.
With Amélie Hegardt's work as well, you know, you get like just a brush stroke or something sometimes, and that is enough to suggest like the shape. And I mean, with this show as well, because of that eye makeup, or not even eye makeup, but cheek makeup, that would have been enough. I mean, it's just something to so you know that it's not been left. I find it helps sometimes.
I mean, definitely for this show, I think you're right. I mean, the faces were really important. I think I'm maybe not in the camp of always needing a face. That was more what I meant.
Pepe, you have thoughts on this?
Yeah, I have so many thoughts. My goodness, because I find myself in between, but I agree with many of the things that have been said. However, more of a face, I think more of skin. That's the first thing I always paint. So I make the outline, and then I like, so I know that it's a person. Somebody is behind those clothes. That's of course my style of illustration is more about the clothes and the movement in them, like they're always walking or moving. But yeah, I love when I see a very, very detailed face on some of the other people's work. However, I don't need all the features of a face, but I don't mind seeing them. I'm in between. I'm sorry, I'm Switzerland today. I'm in between. I'm neutral. I don't know.
It's also quite interesting looking at Matty Bovan's work, because Matty has created their own like face for their own illustrations and his work. So it was like, I think through illustration you often do come at your own face sometimes, and so Matty has a very distinct face that often, I think even some of the pieces in this show had a small embroidery of the face, but maybe I've been mistaken, but in previous collections. And also he's done like, it's almost like a brand, this particular face that he draws with eyes. And I mean, you can look it up. I won't describe it very well, but yeah, so it's an interesting, one about how your faces develop and why, and how you use them.
So is Tracy here, and are you?
I am here now. Yeah. Hi. Sorry, had some technical difficulties.
Do you want to just, for our panelists, describe your process?
Yeah, sure. I was just trying to loosen up quite a lot, really, and try and capture just the eclecticness, really, of Matty Bovan and the colourfulness. And I wanted to try and get all the detail in on the one hand, but on the other hand, I was trying to sort of do that in a more free way, and I'm quite often caught up in the detail too much, I think, and take too long with things. And so this is a bit of a challenge to try and capture that detail without too much sort of fine line, or and be a bit more expressive, I suppose. I was trying to be more expressive. But at the same time, I wanted to show the detail. So it was a fine line between those two things.
Definitely. I think you captured it really well.
Oh, thank you.
Love it.
And it's such a clever and brave decision to go with the watercolor, as we discussed maybe before you got here, because it's almost like counterintuitive to the collection. When you first think of it, you're like, oh my goodness, you need like acrylic marker pens and like collage and everything. And it almost is like, I would never have even thought about going in with, but then because of that juxtaposition, you've managed to capture it in such a like interesting way. So it's sometimes, it's just really, it was clever.
It is quite interesting when you see a collection and you envision what kind of material would go well with that collection, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Another interesting point that we had with the previous talk, very, very interesting point, because we're all illustrators here, or artists. The other panel was all designers. And they were saying, so the topic that came up was, we as a creative person, we have our own way of looking at the collection. So the question I want to put out to the panel, again, put you on the spot, is when you look at a collection, are you trying to capture the essence of the designer? And then, because that's what the designer sees. So the critique was like, oh, the silhouette, or focus more on the clothes, not the face. Whereas as an artist and a creative, we want to reinterpret it how we feel. So what would be the difference in how you work, or your perspective is, do you look at the designer's essence of what they're trying to say and trying to translate that onto page? Or is it you just see the collection, you feel it, and then you draw what you think your emotions are, you channel down to the page, if that makes sense.
I think for me, like someone like Matty or Charles, where the collections are like super energetic, and yeah, like you say, you can like look at them and I immediately want to draw them because it's like charcoal and like messy, and yeah, like this one's like quite punk the way it's like thrown together and there's a lot happening. And yeah, like I'm drawn to those type of collections, and I kind of do them in a similar way. Like it's a quick process. I like do a lot of drawings. I have like all of the paint out and stuff. So it's, yeah, I guess in that way, it's yeah about the vibe of the show and yeah, what they're trying to say, but also, yeah, I don't know.
I think some designers you jive with more than others. Like you just feel a connection, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think you just tend to draw that collection because you feel like a kindred spirits almost.
yeah. Yeah, like I'm not really drawn to like super beautiful, like neutral collections, like really beautiful models. I'm not like really interested in drawing like that. I find that harder to draw.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm more drawn to the dark side.
Me too.
Do you guys have thoughts on that?
I think it's a really tricky one, and I think almost with every job you're thinking about it, which is you'll always know a bit about the designer and who they are and the previous collections and stuff, so that's kind of feeding in and you'll kind of want to capture some of that, but also it doesn't really matter what I draw, it kind of ends up looking like I drew it. So I think it's a bit of both, where if you're being asked to draw a collection, especially, you're bringing your voice. That's what you're bringing. It's like you're bringing your camera lens, you're bringing the thing that you do that is special about your work and your voice, and you're bringing that to it. But you also want to do justice to the designer and their energy. So it's kind of finding the fit between the two. And I don't know, for me, it might be something really simple, like whether I choose to work with a dry brush, which has a harshness to it, with black ink, or I add more water in and it becomes slightly softer. And that's a really simple difference, but it does create a different edginess to the end result, but I'm still working in my materials. So I think it's sometimes finding the marriage between your voice and the justice you want to do to the amazing designer, and kind of where those, I don't know if you find that too, Connie, because your faces always look like your faces. I mean,
they do, don't they? It's like your identity almost.
Yeah.
And to me as an illustrator, and so far in my experience, I think that's really important to have, is your own identity as an artist. It's what people come to you for, isn't it? Yeah, any other thoughts on that for our artists who are listening out there?
No, I agree completely, but I would also say that just draw what interests you in the piece. So if it was, I know I'm just going on about the belts now for some reason, but if it was that like bunched up belting that I seem to be obsessed with now, you can make your whole drawing about that, and that is exciting, and it's how you saw it. And the designers presented it how they want. You can do whatever you want now with it, I guess. You can, if it's the faces, the belts, don't worry and don't try. You don't have to capture everything at all. It can be about specific bits and going with what you want. And I was really interested about you talking about, Joanna, about the dry brush and the wet brush and things. And I think sometimes even just holding whatever you are differently can help so much. Like some collections, I'm like, you can like hold it like this and like, or like some like horrible scratchy Rick Owens, I don't know, something like, so you can, again, it comes to like getting into the position of things as well. It can really like change how you do it and how,
I really liked how you talked about being in different positions and drawing things in a different way, like holding things differently, and it might change the drawing, and making your body position in a different way. I'm going to try that actually.
Well, I guess I'm biased because I've stood still for so many things, and I've even like walked in some shows before, and it's just like interesting to be on the other side, and also it isn't as easy as just walking or standing. It's very different, and you see the pressure on different parts of the body, and it helps a lot when you're drawing, because if you suddenly stand in a position, you realize all the model's weight is on one leg, you might concentrate like heavier lines on that leg, and then the other side of the body you might almost ignore in a way, and you're like, you haven't got time to draw it. If you get into position, be like, okay, that arm is painful where it is, I need to get that in quickly. Or yeah, I guess so. Those kind of things I feel sometimes it just help with the working out what's going on in that moment.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys find this as well, but it links directly that I very rarely draw sitting down, and I really struggle. As soon as I sit down, it's like something goes tighter. So I always draw, the students I just taught on illustrating fashion, they found it hilarious that every time I had to draw, I had to stand up.
Oh, really?
And it's something about, like, I can't even get my arm to work because, like, and I think with runway stuff especially, like, I have to stand. I can't, and it is something about that physicality, because it links directly to what Paul's saying, but it's really physical. What you're drawing, you want to feel it, and you're responding. I see this in Jess's work massively, like you're responding physically, like, and you want to capture that sense of energy and movement. So yeah, I completely relate to that, not as experienced, but like I relate to the feeling.
Yeah, and I mean, it's when drawing in general, obviously you can draw with your whole body, and you should use your whole body, and then there are moments where you might want to have this tiny little, like, I was going to say uptight, but I don't mean that. I mean like a little, like, oh, but then, yeah, it's the contrast, obviously, is great. But yeah, to remember that it's your whole body is drawing as well. When I'm teaching drawing, I often get the students, to stand up and do like more physical exercises, because yeah, it reminds you you've got everything to use. You don't have to draw just from the wrist or you've got everything.
Did you have any thoughts, Pepe, on?
Yeah, I was going to agree on the movement thing. Sometimes when I draw a little bit bigger and I make a little bit of a bigger piece and I have to stand over the table to reach further, I find that it's better, that the final result, I like it better, because there's, call it magic, I don't know what you call it, but there's like something from, I don't know, it's better. I agree with everything you said, the physicality, the movement, and going back to what you said before about, depending on the collection and the essence of the collection, I find, and I don't know if you guys feel the same, I find that my eye goes to the exact same thing every season, to every collection. I watch a designer and I say, okay, but I'm still drawing the same because I like black and I like the powerful show. I don't know. So unless there's a client telling you what they want, I always tell people, draw whatever you want, because it's what comes from your soul, no? Yeah. So unless they're telling you, we want a face and we want more detail in the face, or we want more flowers, if you're just gonna draw for fun in your home and I don't know, do what makes you happy.
I think having these talks are really amazing, to have insight. And then the biggest realization or reiteration, or it's probably always been there, but it's, because photography is there taking photos of all the collection. And sometimes people want to capture that photorealistic thing. But what me and Patrick and everybody else have thought about was that fashion illustration. Like at first we're like, how does that compete with photography? Because it's so instant, and how do we compete with that? But as the talks went on, it was really interesting to see the progression of thoughts. And someone said that we shouldn't compete with photography. What we do is like a completely different set of things. It's not good to like pit it against each other. And what we do with fashion illustration is to really give the collection a second life. So, we have that still image, the static image, but what we take from that is like creating something else, like giving another, when you work out, you get tired and then you get a second wind. Something like that. It just gives another life to the garment and the collection. So I think what we're doing is really special. And I know for a lot of artists, we get really not discriminating, intimidated by the overwhelming social media of we're all doing this. And, I don't know if you guys get that. It's so overwhelming seeing everybody do their work. But I think you just have to remember to see the magic in what we do. And we have to like keep each other going, keep each other motivated, inspired. And I think that's one of the biggest things that when I went to art school, we had crit like every week. To me, those were really special times because you got to actually hear from other students, because we're so enclosed and encapsulated in our own little bubble that it's nice to just, you know, hear each other out and see what we're doing and what's going on and just talk about it, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. Anyway. Sorry, my little rant.
No, I was gonna say, it's a really good point about the photography, because it's not like, it's a very small, it's not the be all and end all of the fashion moment. And those things where you see all of the, like on Vogue, and you see like 100 images taken from the same position, really like quite a boring version. I mean, there are photographers who do other amazing things, but I think fashion illustration for them is much more exciting in things. You compare with the photography, you don't even need to go there, because clothes are like, you know, there's so much to it, the physicality, the wearing of it, the actual 3D space when in one moment, then the photographs are one very static thing. And so I think, it's just one point on it. So it's not even that you need to make that comparison. And much more exciting.
And sorry.
No. I was gonna add.
And I was just saying that it's what Joanna said earlier is that we should, I mean, when I'm trying to draw from the shows, I'm trying to look at backstage photos or, you know, like detail shots and stuff, but sometimes it's hard to find online. If that makes sense. You were saying, Pepe?
I love fashion photography. That's your first, I remember my first contact with fashion growing up. It was the magazines, it's the pictures, the photography. And I'm sure because you guys have done live before, there is a magic that comes when people see you do something with your hands rather than with just a click, because I think the camera it's a gadget, it's mechanical, it's a gadget. But you've all experienced this, when people see you actually getting the ink and the watercolor and putting it on paper, people get fascinated. And I was drawing live once a few weeks ago at a photo shoot, and I felt bad for, not bad, but I felt like, guys, there's a photo shoot. I'm just here in the back. Like I felt a little bit, because everybody, they was just saying, oh, this is magical. You do it here live. And I'm sure, I don't know, what do you guys feel? I feel like there's an extra magic when it comes from your hands.
Definitely. And me and Patrick are having this conversation that there's not enough of us going to the fashion shows. I mean, Joanna, I know you went, and Jess as well. Yeah. And it's different, isn't it? The environment is different.
It was so, absolutely amazing. And I'm so happy to be there. I think
we should all, when I get back to London, we're gonna all band together. Let's go. We can like sit outside and draw all the people wearing fabulous outfits.
Yeah, that's a fashion show in itself. You don't need to wait.
Exactly. Like people were doing was it outfit of the day?
Yeah.
And there's something even more important for us artists when you're surrounded by all that magic as well. You have artists, the hairstylists, there's stylists there, the model live wearing these beautiful things. So you're just there, and I kept thinking, I'm so lucky. But second, the result was so much better, because you don't double think what you have to do. You don't have a lot of time. You just go for it. And sometimes from that spontaneity, from being spontaneous is so much better, I think.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm also wondering about the conversation about exactly what you're saying, Pepe, but the conversation about comparing it to photography. I'm wondering if, because we can't click a button and make everything appear. So by having parameters, maybe we're actually telling more about the collection. So if you can only say something in 3 brushstrokes, are you actually crystallizing the collection more clearly than a whole photo? And then that art form in itself should be, there should be a place for that, because I think that visual language and that ability to capture something is essence. Maybe that's doing more, not more than a photograph, but it's saying more than a photograph.
Oh, that was beautiful.
That.
It was. Well said. We recorded that so we can replay it.
Yeah, that was beautiful. 3 brush strokes.
Patrick did a question. Was Jessica invited by Roxana and Joanna invited, or did you gate crash? Did you crash it?
This was actually the first year that they invited me. Like previously, well, the whole reason I am in with them is because I used to intern as a design intern, press intern, sales intern for like years. And so I just like kept in touch and then kept going back and doing like dressing for shows and stuff. And then when I started illustrating, I was like, can I please come? And then I've done it a few times where I've asked them, can I come? But this year was the first time they asked me, and I was like, oh.
Ooh,
finally. And then, but because of that, I think I felt like more I could own my space, and I didn't feel like I was in the way. And like, I felt more like I could enjoy the experience. And it was good. It was good.
It's great.
Yeah, I think that's really similar. I don't remember when I first contacted Fashion Scout, but it was like just a punt a few years ago now, and this is the first time I was invited backstage. So I've been invited to draw before, but it's the first physical show backstage. So again, similar.
I think designers are realizing that it's important. It's like an extra thing, isn't it, to have an illustrator in the back.
And you give them more content for their social media outlets, not just pictures and videos.
Exactly.
So that came out a little bit angry. I wasn't angry.
But it's true. It's like it's good content for them, and like in like a more basic sense, like people are so desensitized to like catwalk images and everything, like photography, and so to give them something that's like physically drawn, and honestly, everyone backstage is like, "Wow, that's incredible." Yeah. Don't look at it. Like, that was but yeah, just like the spectacle of it, people seem to love that anyway.
Also, I think it feels less intrusive. I don't know if you found that, Jess, but me sitting there like with a sketchbook, it felt much less intrusive. It wasn't like I was like, can I get a photo? And there were lots of photographers around. It was more just you kind of become invisible, and then you kind of have a sort of freedom, and it feels quite intimate.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Patrick had a big question. Are they covering costs for you to go to the show?
No.
I didn't think so.
Although I
think that's something. I hope that's something we can change, because us, as you all know, we're all freelance, and what we do, we never really get paid enough. It's a big problem, I think.
I mean, I don't really know I don't know personally of anyone who's been paid for like backstage illustration unless they're working for a publication and it's going somewhere, or unless they do it and then sell it afterwards to a publication, but I haven't.
There is the thing with fashion illustration though, is that if you have backstage drawings, I don't know if everyone's in this position, but because they are physical tangible objects, I give them straight to a gallery. So there is that. I think Jess might be similar, but there is actually a kind of, there's a physical outcome. Even if the brand takes the digital result, which is the scanned in images, you kind of still have this beautiful tangible thing, which has, so there are kind of other ways of looking. I'm not saying that's a good reason not to be paid. I'm just saying because you're working physically, there is a kind of output that can have another life.
And for me as well, like, yes, it would be nice to be paid for that work, but also for me, it's a really exciting experience and not something I do all the time at all. And then it gives me work for like, as in physical work, to then sell originals for a very long time, because there's so much content and like so much inspiration that comes from doing that, like a couple of hours of sketching.
Exactly.
Cool. We have one more drawing we need to squeeze in. I think Jess, you're gonna like this one.
Oh yeah, wow. I really like this one.
This is Katie. I see you're here.
Here, I'm just Andrew again.
We're doing you again with a different panel. So if you want to quickly discuss your process and technique.
So for me, it was a lot about the makeup as well. So it was kind of responding to the show and the theme of Cyclone as well. So it was the sort of chaos and energy and fast-paced nature of it that I wanted to capture. And then I was really drawn to the hats, because the hats were amazing. So it's the hand knit I was really drawn to, and I just wanted to capture the craftsmanship in that. and then sort of like the themes of sort of Americana through the show. So yeah, it's quite a, everything's about the reaction to the show rather than slaving over a garment, I guess.
Amazing. This epitomizes everything we just been talking about.
I think it's great how you've created like a real character, and I think that is a great way of epitomizing the whole show. And as you said, the cyclone thing, the show was really dark. It was like a dark take on America. There were prints of guns and like torn flags, and it really was quite like post-apocalyptic. And on the night as well, it was the terrible storm. So we were like stuck in the crypt of a church, and it was all storming, and everyone was like, we might just be stuck here forever with the bones of whoever's in the crypt. But I feel like this has like said that you've got this like character. I don't even know who it is. It's sort of like half alien, human, but then you've also got the really beautiful colors and the knit of the hat. So it's like this, it's a great juxtaposition of the two. But yeah, you've created like a whole new character from that, who I feel has like come straight from that collection, is sort of wearing it out into some Mad Max fantasy world. So when I can see a story going on in a drawing, that's what makes it exciting for me. And I feel like in fashion illustration, if there's a story, it becomes, it's that extra thing. And this is, getting a whole story. I'm going wild with your character.
But I think it shows immediately what Paul and Jess were talking about how a fashion illustration that is a face can tell you a lot about a collection. It doesn't need to be the whole body, and this kind of perfectly shows that, like the energy and the way it's drawn and the colors it's picked up on and the use of the face makeup. I mean, all of it tells you a lot about that collection without even showing you the figure, which is amazing. I don't know if I could do this. I think there's a lot of skill in this.
Yeah, no, I really love it. And I think it was on your Instagram, and I was looking because you did a series of them, I think. And yeah, I just love the way that like each of them have this kind of like emerging from the paper, and it's kind of the knitwear and like the headpieces that are like central focus. And yeah, just like the kind of charcoal, like the energy, like it feels like it's really captured the essence of the show. And like I watched some of the videos of the show, not the like live stream one, but the kind of ones they put on Instagram with like the flashing lights and the kind of like cutting between, and I just feel like this captures it.
Pepe, do you have any?
I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. And then like looking at the collection and the essence that you guys were saying, like the distress, the Americana, post-apocalyptical, and I see it totally in this illustration. The charcoal, this I can tell the speed on which he made the strokes, but you still get the hat, which is the fashion element to it, because at the end of the day, we do make fashion illustrations. So I love that the essence is there, but there's also the garment. So I really like it.
I think it's also doing that job. You're talking about the photography versus drawing, or you weren't really doing versus, sorry. But I have re-noticed this hat in a way that I love hats. And for some reason, this one hadn't stuck with me. And now I'm going to forever think of this hat because of this. I'm going to go back to the collection and be like, okay, where was that hat? I want that hat. But I hadn't actually noticed it yet. But maybe I had, it's like, so I think, when it can do things like that, it's really, that's really a great example of what you were saying. And having like the idea of photography earlier on, you were saying, is that there is so much, most people are viewing, even when they're sitting at the show, they're viewing it through their iPhone or whatever. And it's just not like a direct way. So as soon as you draw it, you slow down and you notice all different things. Yeah. I was even sitting next to someone at the show who, she was saying she would never photograph shows because everyone else is photographing it, but she notes down things that are important. Not even drawing, but she was like writing words like feathers or not, there weren't any feathers, what were they? But anyway, like purple sequins and things like that, because they were the things she wanted to remember that made an impact. But I think, doing something physically rather than, because photo taking, I guess, was more physical, but now it literally is, you're not doing anything, and you're sort of distancing yourself from the reality. So like you were saying, just taking that time to get involved in something through looking, because I feel like photography is sort of now with the iPhone, like removed from looking weirdly. It's more like
people are just looking at the phone.
Yeah, it's like a screen between actually looking, but when you're drawing, you can't do that at all, which is nice because you have to somehow coordinate your eye and hand and body, even if just a little bit.
Yeah.
There's no escape.
That's something else about I find about live illustrating, like backstage as well, is like that's kind of the first part of the editing process for me. Like if I can look at all the photos of shows in the world, but actually like I lose interest pretty quickly. Whereas if I'm there like, while I'm backstage, I like seek out the outfits that I want to draw. I like leave a whole bunch of ones that I'm not interested in, and then I'll take my own photos as well so that I can like use them afterwards in like the poses that I want. So like it's already becoming like an editing process.
You're art directing already.
Yeah, like this woman like writing down like feathers and like honing in on what it is that you're actually interested in.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, we have just a little bit of time, but I wanted to share with you quickly mine, because this is Connie's script. And like, I would love your feedback on it because I'm doing something a bit different. I started using acrylics because I got sick of what I was doing. So, and my focus this year is skin tone because I'm really bad at color. I'm not great with color like Jess.
Some of my people are completely green. So.
No, I've done some like pink people. I'm doing blue now. So it's like a whole new world for me. I just got stuck in this like bubble and I'm trying to like branch out a little bit.
I love how strong the face is as well. Like it does seem like a different Connie face. Because I know when you draw me as well, I've never looked more beautiful. I become like, and then I look at it and I get all sorts of like not like, oh, is that what I look like? This beautiful Connie woman.
You do.
In this one, I really like how you've gone for the strength because that was important for male models. And yeah, the eye makeup, but yeah, even the face itself, it looks like strong and confrontational, which is I think was important.
Connie, why did you choose this one? Because when I looked through the collection, this is the one that I thought was about the only one I wanted to try.
The shoulders.
Yeah,
and the waist.
And the gloves.
Yeah, and the gloves as well. It's beautiful. It just seemed really striking to me in terms of like the skin tone versus the contrast of the texture of the knit and the white. I don't know.
I think it's amazing. I also think the way that you underdraw and then layer up, and in this case you've actually painted over something previously, but what we were talking about before about using mediums to fit styles, I think it works really well because it's totally your drawing, but it really fits the way the collection was put together. So in this instance, I think it's amazing. I think it's beautiful. I think it's stunning.
Yeah, even though I'm learning not to do more of the static front pose after this.
I think the reason I like this outfit, if I was going to draw, when I was thinking like how on earth would I approach this, was because this one had a more graphic sensibility to it, where I could get my head around which shapes I would go for. And I was wondering if that was where you were coming from as well, like when you're looking through this, like, okay, where do I even and I think that was why I was drawn to it. I don't know if that was something for you.
It's the contrast, I think, because I'm really digging contrast at the moment, like the hard and the soft and the light and the dark. Well, thanks guys.
Nice. I love how you do the backgrounds always. It's
me. Oh no, that's something I need to work on.
Oh, but I allow me to say the word, like the messiness of it is what I love. It's because I don't know, call me dramatic, but it's like these people, like we all come with baggage, you know, so I love like your paintings are always it's not just the drawing, it's like it comes with like I don't know, it's great, like I can see but not really. I love the backgrounds.
Yeah, thanks. Cool, that's really helpful, really helpful. I love hearing different opinions of people because it's hard to like analyze your own, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Quick question from Patrick. Can we have a quick look at Jessica's drawing for Roxanda and Joanna's? let me stop sharing. Can you share your screen, Jess or Joanna?
Nothing on my screen.
Can I just
if
pick
you
up
can
the
just hold
drawing?
it up. Yeah, if you hold up the drawing.
I have to physically.
One here from
I'll pin Joanna's first. Oh, it's beautiful. I love it.
Turakova from Fashion Scout. Let me grab. Jess has probably got a load there. I've actually got the Fashion Scout folder here, so
Oh,
a couple from backstage. Oh yeah.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if you can even see that on there.
That's beautiful. I love how delicate it is and soft.
This is, I actually got to draw a face here, which is amazing because I don't often get to draw focusing on faces. That was backstage. There's a whole pile here.
Oh, look at that.
Go through them all.
This is like tape and stuff, which I use a lot
yeah.
backstage
Oh,
because
I love tape.
yeah, it's easier for getting color down really quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I did like a bunch of these I did afterwards, like just line things.
I love them.
Yeah.
I think blind drawing is amazing because you get like really good energy. Oh, I love that one. Is that tape or is it?
These like that's tape, and then these like
oh yes, the liquid text. Yeah.
They're so good for backstage because
Like
they dry.
Yeah. Amazing.
Can I share something quickly?
Yes. Oh yes. You did some drawings. So can you I need to pin you.
When I got your email, I got confused. I didn't know I was going to be in the panel.
So
I thought I had
Pepe
to
did
submit my
some
work.
illustrations. Yeah. If you want to
I
share
did the same one.
Oh, you did.
So when you picked up that, I went, oh, it was the blue. I love the gloves for some reason. So I did this, and like I like the movement, and then I did this one.
Oh yeah, that's really beautiful.
That's actually a Roxanne dress, that one. Yeah. Like reworked, which I love. That's probably why I like it so much.
I just think you might draw that, Jeff.
I know.
If you can post it and then put hashtag Connie's Crits, that would be amazing because then when we have future crits and stuff, people can always look at, like scroll back. And, and it's like documenting what we talked about in this thing. Do you guys have like a couple more minutes? Because I want to share a few drawings really quickly, like honorable mentions. We have
the Jess's one with the face turned away is such a good, because you think of the fashion illustration, the straight on ones, but actually you can get so much more from, and you might think the back is like boring, but it can tell so much more and be so much more exciting. So yeah, I'm always like, when people get a back of someone, it's actually so many exciting options. I mean,
yeah, that's why I was saying to look at footage, because if you can even just like screen grab something where someone's turning or moving, you'll get a much more interesting.
Oh wow,
that's amazing.
Backstage, that's all you can get is the back of someone.
Yeah.
So we loved this one because it just captures the mood of the Erdem show. So we thought it was really beautiful, and we wanted to just share this very quickly.
Gorgeous.
It is, isn't it?
An entire background. You see what I'm? It's like that's not even just the dress. That's an entire mood show. Wow.
Definitely.
I think that's by Kaz. Is that by Kaz?
Yes. And oh yeah, well done, Kaz. If you're here, we just short on time, but I just want to share Kelly's work. Kelly Bailey. I don't think she's on today, but we love her work, anyways.
Wow.
So really beautiful, delicate pencil work with ink. I don't know if this is digital, but I'm sure, but it's just lovely. And we wanted to just give it a mention in the recording.
Yeah,
there's so many things.
Thicknesses of line, like the line around the back as well.
Yeah, it's the black line contrasted by the nice wash in the back. So yeah, we wanted to just share those two last with the talk, and man, it's our last talk today, so it's been an amazing journey. I feel like we've learned all so much, and thank you, Patrick, for having me and thinking about this idea, because I think it's so beneficial for everybody in our community to share and, you know, support each other, because we do need that to change things that are, you know, happening. We need to band together. So
well done, Connie. Thank
thanks.
you. I know it's our last one.
Yeah,
And
I'm kind of sad now.
we wanted to put you all under a bit of pressure to show your work, which was lovely to.
Yeah.
We've seen like Jess and Joanna and Pepe. Well done for doing a few live drawings. We should have got a few live nude classes as well, so we could have got everyone participating. And I think that the major part of this sort of collection of crits is to really get people speaking about fashion illustration, taking it seriously. And I know, you know, I'm asking a few on the spot questions about money, but this is, we need to live. We potentially have families, or we've got rent to pay. And I think it's quite important that, and when we were talking earlier about the role of fashion illustrators to photographers, is, you know, photographers are doing quite well out of the financial side of it, and the illustrators are really struggling. You know, I hear a lot of people, and we invited the Be Well Collective, which is about mental health in fashion. And a lot of illustrators are suffering heavily with mental health because of finance and support. And I think fashion brands should be more, feel more of a responsibility to illustrators as a sort of participant in their fashion ecosystem. So hopefully, you know, with all these universities and people teaching at universities, teaching a course where there is a financial return to your discipline, and that it isn't only a hobby, it's a profession. So it's interesting to hear that, you know, when Joanna and Jess were saying, you know, I was invited and then I used my artwork to then sell into galleries. Photographers turn up to shows, they photograph the show, and then they sell their photographs on as well. You know, I just feel it really unfair, and I'm hoping that more of these happenings will cause them to like switch on. And I do feel illustrators do need to be maybe a bit more aggressive in the financial side of it all. I know it's hard because you want to be involved, but if we don't make a stance like what's happening in the rest of the world, you know, we don't move forward. So hopefully as a collective, fashion illustrators will take a harder stance. And I think, you know, I do constantly ask the question about money and get people to talk about money. And that's the scary part, because a lot of illustrators are a little bit like artists, and they're quite nervous to use the word money, and they either want an agent to take that role. But I know a lot of you now are starting to maybe make money, and money isn't a taboo. So we deserve to earn money, and we deserve to survive and live and make it a profession rather than a hobby. So I guess the whole point of this crit and these crits is really to raise this awareness. And the nice thing is, I think a few journalists have pricked up, and they're going to be talking about this and discussing this a bit more. But we want it to be in the sort of dialogue of fashion illustration. So thank you, everybody. And it was great. And it was, you know, it was great to hear your words as well, Paul. Thank you so much. And, you know, hearing your different sort of roles within the whole faculty of university, from model to tutor, is great to hear. And, you know, if you do have connections to the shows, hopefully you'll hear what we're saying as well, is get these fashion designers to bring in the illustrators. And I know they don't have big budgets, but even a small budget, I don't know what your thoughts are.
The whole industry has a lot of problems. Like, it's hard to even get started on even the models being paid when they're not, you know, the big names and things. And everyone who works, right, it runs on like unpaid interns, but there is a big change happening with that as well. And there are, people demanding to be paid for their time, rightly so.
Yeah, I think for it to be taken seriously as a discipline, and fashion has always worked on bad morals. And I know fashion, you know, once I make it, then adios, allthemoneyforme.com. And I see that with a lot of fashion designers where I've worked with high-end fashion brands and they're shocked at the wage that you ask for. So, you know, if they aren't willing to pay it, who down the bottom's willing to pay for it? So it's a ripple down effect. So, you know, I think those at the top need to put their hands in the pockets a bit more, and there should be a bit more of a support network even coming. The Fashion Council, all of these areas need to step up, and hopefully we'll see a bit more of a change. And I think fashion illustration is coming back in the space rather than just an art discipline. So thank you everybody. And I wasn't prepared to speak. I was meant to stay as a square with our name, but as it's the last one, and I've still got some Christmas decorations up from the kids, so I didn't want to show them. But you know, it's the last one, and we've had a great time. And I don't. Last week when I was doing the last crit, my daughter broke her arm in the middle of it, so so I had to rush to the hospital. So we've had a whole array of experiences doing the crits. So anything can happen in the process of a Zoom call. Broken arms,
dogs barking, mailman coming.
Dogs barking. That's life. So thanks again, and thank you, Connie. You've been brilliant.
No worries. It was my pleasure.
Thank you.
It was really fun.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.